Probably need a content warning for this one. We're not going into details on any dark subject matter specifically, but we will be using very exact terminology for mental health stuff, war crimes, sex crimes, just some very unvarnished language. Like I said, there are no specifics, just very exact terms.
Speaking of thorough, I think this version has a bit more gore because I don't remember being able to shoot zombies' arms off. And I'm sorry that I have to censor this, don't blame me, blame the new YouTube.
Automated bots, detecting content for an automated algorithm, and meting out automated punishments, inducing an understandable paranoia that's led to automated self-censorship. YouTube.com and its advertisers are enjoying an era of set it and forget it manufactured consent. And that fucking cunting sucks. I get to say that here. It's easy. It's as easy as saying free Palestine. I can say fuck as much as I want because of the funding I get from you on patreon.com. Now, I was one of the innovators of that, of YouTube videos being supported by Patreon. I was one of, if not the first, certainly one of the very first, and my particular vision for that was a deal. If I'm supported via crowdfunding, the least I could do as in exchange is not run ads and not be beholden to sponsors and things like that. Now, as Patreon support has exploded and become really popular, you will get people who are supported by crowdfunding and run ads and run sponsors, and that has affected the content they put out in many ways, and YouTube has taken notice of that and exploited that. Now, I am something of a cautionary tale because I stuck to my guns so much that, well, we're fucked. The channel is fucked. However, the show has continued for over 10 years of unbroken content weekly for 10.5 years now. And I've only been able to do that because of the direct support from those who support the show for no other reason than they believe in it. It's one of the most straightforward, simple transactions that's ever been when it comes to online media. People believe in what I'm doing, they pay me, I do it. And that's been an incredible thing. And it's given me the creative freedom. And it's given me a sense of relief now as I look at what YouTube's doing to our very language, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, this is the last video of an unbroken 10+ year streak of uploads every single week, every single Monday. I have to take a break because as I've said in previous videos, this career I've had outside of YouTube, the writing, it has exploded. I've got so much to do. I need to finally take a rest. I've got a friggin' book to write and a deadline coming up for that, and I'm relocating as well. So just so much going on, and yeah, I end of an era, I suppose. And how are we going to cap off that era of never missing a Monday on YouTube? We're going to take a big shit on YouTube. I don't think anyone will notice the spot on my shirt if I make it black and white and put a noise filter on top. I watched a video on YouTube last week. It was about a book. A book about the Holocaust. The video's narrator, citing fears of YouTube suppression, said they wouldn't use the word Holocaust, and then attempted to discuss the Holocaust without indeed using the word Holocaust. I sat there watching as this disembodied voice would try to tackle one of the darkest and most serious historical subjects of all time in purely euphemistic terms, referring to the history or that event. I sat there and I quietly thought to myself, they're going to say the Jews were unalived, aren't they? And then they said the Jews were unalived. A few weeks ago, YouTube sent me an email expressing concern that I was self-harming, possibly suicidal. The email, obviously automated like all of YouTube's activities, told me I was not alone and that if I needed help, I could always reach out. This email was sent as a response to a video in which I'd openly discussed mental health and trauma. 5 minutes before YouTube sent me that email telling me I wasn't alone and could talk about my feelings, things, it had restricted that very video. Because open discussion of mental health and trauma is considered taboo. You cannot actually talk about your feelings, talk about needing help on YouTube.com, not without unhelpfully burying it under a bunch of euphemisms at any rate. You cannot discuss mental health, trauma, abuse, or anything else in an open manner that may provide help and resources to those who need it, or those who might just need to not feel alone. I've been told many times how my honest discussion of my own mental illness and neurodivergence helped others feel seen, feel less isolated. I've used this phrase regarding all sorts of representation before. Visibility is vital, and YouTube is suppressing the very visibility that quite genuinely and specifically helps people. Sure, you might find some verbal workarounds, but being able to exactly name an issue is an important part of its visibility. I remember the day I was told I had ADHD, the relief I felt because it had a name. Things about me that I thought made me broken, made me weird, made me an outlier. They were all part of something that had a name, and if they had a name, that meant it was known about, and if it was known about, it meant I wasn't alone. And things like my bipolar disorder, my OCD, these were things I didn't know I had, because growing up, people didn't talk about it. I saw no representation. I felt like I was alone. And YouTube would like that discussion buried. You know, like something is if you're ashamed of it. But they're doing their part for mental health. You know?
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
Sending performative boilerplate emails. You're not alone, YouTube says, as it tightens the chain on material that would allow people to feel like they're not alone. You're not alone, YouTube says, as it serves yet another reminder, the same reminder it always has, that it can isolate your voice at a moment's notice and you are powerless to do a thing. You're not alone, YouTube says, as it sends an automated email via an automated process in which the only human involved is quite specifically alone. A few months ago, I was watching a video by one of my favourite critics, Josh Strife Hayes. I mean, what's not to like? Smooth voice, measured commentary, dapper dress sense, dreamy eyes, and Josh was talking about an action game that involved plenty of gunplay, one of those there shooter games, if you will, and I tilted my head like a curious dog as he explains that he wouldn't be using the word gun while talking about a game about guns. Now, his workaround was charming, as he is, insisting on calling a gun a rooty-tooty point-and-shooty every time he mentioned one. It was a fun term, and it's a good video, yet I couldn't shake my unease at the overall absurdity of the situation we're finding ourselves in. Since when can you not talk about a literal shooting game while mentioning the guns that do the shooting? Can a game like Doom even be discussed properly at all, considering some of its most iconic and important weapons literally have gun in their name?
Big fucking gun. Holy shit.
And if just saying gun is going to send YouTube's unmoderated and immoderate moderation down on you, what happens if you show any of them? Does a Doom long play now have to be blurred out? Just several hours of a vague and visually useless smear on screen? What happens with the new audiences who might not know anything about whatever game is being discussed? Can a video that describes a piece of media entirely in euphemism with visuals entirely blurred be of use to anybody? Would that help someone who's never seen that media get an idea of what it's like? I can answer that, because I've watched some videos discussing movies I hadn't seen exactly that way, and let me tell ya, it made for truly useless footage. A few years ago, I laughed as I watched a procession of YouTube free speech warriors, the kind who scream daily about how much they hate censorship, begin to tone their language down, apply bleep sounds over their swearing, and otherwise soften the coarseness of their rhetoric to appease YouTube's algorithm. Many of them still espouse disgusting views and hateful sentiments, but they were meekly careful to never say any naughty no-no words. It is amazing how even the most militant free speech advocate will volunteer to sew their own mouth shut if it keeps advertisers happy. Of course, I'm not laughing anymore. I saw a video attempt to talk about the Holocaust without saying what it was, what really happened, and who perpetrated it. The laughter's long gone. The despair has set in. Not even comparisons to 1984 feel apt anymore. They needed a dystopian government to pervert their language, but reality has always shown that we don't need something so dramatic. Marketers are more than capable of coercing us into doing it ourselves. And if I hear unalived in a video about actual murders and suicides just one more time, I'm going to fucking scream. Oh, and to anyone on this website replacing the word rape with rake, you know what, this video's about words, but I don't have any for that. YouTube is becoming utterly unwatchable, and it's been disturbing to witness the volunteered suppression of language as everybody cedes control of the very way they speak to a corporation and its advertiser buddies. I'm a big believer in the natural evolution of language. Definitions change over time, with each new generation, fresh slang is conceived. I'm aware I'm old and younger people talk in a way that's completely different from me. I've accepted that, but what we're witnessing right now is not natural. Fear of demonetization and algorithmic restriction has detrimentally altered the way in which media on YouTube is presented. In all the named examples I'm going to show today, the video's host has explicitly stopped talking about the actual subject matter in order to explain to the viewer that they can't say the words they should be saying because of YouTube's policies or the fear of crossing them. That in and of itself is affecting the quality of videos, each one having to go on the same tangent. But I dread the day that tangent isn't needed anymore, because that'll mean it's become so normal nobody questions it anymore. It's already being treated as normal by very dint of the fact almost nobody seems to be speaking up about it. But let me make it really fucking clear, or as clear as anything I say today will be heard through whatever restrictions YouTube slaps on this video today. It is not normal to discuss the Holocaust without saying what it's called, what it was, and who did it. It is not normal to discuss serious, real-life murders and suicides using funny, cutesy terms. It is not normal that a YouTube algorithm has so much sway over an entire medium of mass communication that is quite literally rewriting our language for us.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
And absolutely positively fuck this constant use of unalive. People get killed in genocides, not unalived in mass unalivings. Moral decency requires that when an atrocity is committed, you call it what it is. You don't call it the event like you're a villager in Wellesley Wells. You don't skirt around the perpetrators, whether that's the Nazis or any other piece of shit. But we'll get back to that particular strand. Now, I want to make it clear that I sympathise with the position YouTubers are in, and I say that as this platform's a living cautionary tale. I quite specifically named Josh Hayes, a guy I respect, not because I despise him for this situation, but because I get it. YouTube is in the position companies dream of, having an army of people whose financial futures are tied to their appeasement in such numbers as to be completely disposable. YouTubers found jobs making stuff for YouTube. Hell, they found careers, and it's created a power dynamic that entirely, exclusively favours the tech bros of Google. Everybody has to pay their bills, and people have done a lot worse for a lot less in order to keep a roof over their heads. I understand why they're going as far as they are in complying with policies that, in all honesty, they don't even really understand. And I sympathise with the lack of understanding as well, because that's all by YouTube's design. While some of the self-censorship is based on evidenced instances of demonetisation and restrictions, or events like the oft-feared adpocalypse, much of it's based on pure speculation, as YouTube's unknowable and ever-shifting policies keep content creators on their toes, afraid of tripping the mod bots and getting their ability to make money taken away from them. At present, I theorise that this speculation guides the majority of self-censorship efforts on YouTube. The ways in which YouTubers try to second-guess and preempt YouTube shifting standards and game the algorithm border on superstition at times, and it's very easy to see why. YouTube is actively hostile to the very people generating the content on which it sustains itself. It constantly changes policies without so much as telling anyone, let alone asking them. It will run so-called experiments on selected channels, again without informing those channels, dicking around with the interface in ways that can have a tangible impact on how those channels survive. One of the reasons I'm so thoroughly offended at YouTube having the temerity to tell me it's concerned about my mental well-being is the fact, the ironclad fact, that of everything involved in my career, YouTube and its bullshit has been one of the biggest drains on my mental health. YouTube burns people out, keeps them guessing, reminding them regularly that they can lose their ads, lose their sponsors, lose their entire channels if they're not carefully obeying rules that are poorly explained and selectively enforced, manipulating and threatening and getting away with it because YouTubers who built their livelihoods on the platform risk not being able to pay their rent if they do anything to upset the erratic, unpredictable entity that holds the purse strings in one hand and their necks in the other. So we have a class of strung-out creators kept in line by the latent threat of harm, backed up by regular examples of that harm and the occasional mass cull, all left guessing as to how exactly the threat is appeased and overcorrecting in their attempts to do so. Welcome to the chilling effect. I started writing this script months ago, which means I didn't watch that Holocaust video just a week ago. It has been many weeks, and since I watched that video, I've seen so many more, with so many silly word substitutions. I also received another email from YouTube in that time, sent just a few days ago, actually a few days ago this time. In fact, it was on the day I wrote a blog post for Patreon discussing how much better my life's been since building a career outside of YouTube. Which is funny. I can always count on YouTube to swiftly justify my contempt by doing something contemptuous. The email basically outlines how much worse the chilling effect is about to be. See, they're improving their content detection algorithm explicitly to age restrict many more videos, and they'll be applying that to currently uploaded videos as well. Restriction means demonetization, it means algorithmic burial. Oh, and note, the email says more of my videos will be restricted, not maybe. They fully expect their new algo will screw everybody over because of course it will. They keep moving the goalposts of acceptability and punishing people for not complying with things that weren't there to be complied with at the time. This latest threat from YouTube is exactly what I'm talking about. How can a creator who actually has a career tied to this cunt of a website not end up paranoid as a result of this shit? The threat means nothing to me as a great philosopher, the person who wrote the Quake instruction manual, once said, "Thou can't kill what's already dead." But those still alive around here, I totally get the paranoia. Of course they go overboard in censoring themselves because what's okay today might not be okay tomorrow. You know, I used to have little anxiety attacks whenever YouTube emailed me because it was never anything good. It was just some new curveball that would make my job harder. And this was years ago when things were nowhere near as bad as they are now. YouTube is an abuser of its content producers. I wholeheartedly believe that. It is a fucking abusive platform. If YouTubers had even half the rights of actual employees, which they should as the ones whose full-time labour generates company revenue, so much of what Google does to them would be fucking illegal. All of this being said though, as much as I sympathise with the creators' position, I really wish they'd all stop contributing to the fucking newspeak. The harm they're doing there fucking scares me. I'm sure some people think it's subversive to find a baby talk workaround for the censorship going on. Middle fingers up to you, YouTube, I'm saying the word without saying the word. But no, in this case, you're just doing exactly what YouTube wants you to do. See, advertisers don't give a flying fuck about what it is you're saying. Earlier I said you can't discuss things like mental health in an open way, but in a corporate approved way you can say whatever you like, express any view you wish. And that's because the content of what you say isn't what they're most interested in. No, to have control of context.
Create context.
That's the prize melon here. They don't want to own what you say so much as own how you say it. The former will follow as a consequence of them having seized the latter. If they take away your ability to call a thing what it is, they take the power out of the very foundation of your words. If you control the words, you control the voice. As someone who has to deal with a lot of queerphobic hate online, I can tell you, like transphobes, right? They absolutely hate being called transphobic, even as they're knowingly saying transphobic stuff. Anyone dealing with racists can tell you the same thing. There's a reason "I'm not racist but" is such a recognisable and mocked phrase. People are happy to own whatever hateful views they express, but take offence when you call it what it is. This is especially true when dealing with Nazis, who, despite the attempts of the right wing to rehabilitate their image, remain synonymous with pure fucking evil to anyone with a shred of decency. You want to know why online bigots love saying, "Oh, so you think anyone who disagrees with you is a Nazi?" It's because they want to divorce their Nazi shit from the label of Nazism to make it more palatable. Gosh, they're almost thinking like advertisers. Take Elon Musk, for example. Seriously. Take him to fucking Mars and fucking leave him there with a Steam Deck and a copy of Quake that he claims to love so much. It feels like 1,000 years ago now, but he did a Nazi salute, right? We all saw him do it. It was blatant, it was clear. But immediately after he did it, out came the excuses and deflections from his weirdo supporters. Oh, it was a Roman salute. Oh, he's just awkward, getting gestures wrong. Oh, he's just showing his heart going out to us. Oh, he's just showing his heart going out to us. The idea he has one of those should have been sus enough. Even as Musk continued to court the fash, his enablers scrabbled for ways to explain the Nazi salute without calling it a Nazi salute. Because their problem isn't that he did it, the problem is that we know what it is and can call it exactly that. There has been a decades-long ploy by Nazis to retcon the Nazi salute or imagery like the swastika, to recontextualize it and make it palatable again. To rehabilitate that which is understood to be wrong. Once you seize the context, you control the content, control the words, control the voice.
Create context.
Oh, can you guess one of the most commonly believed no-no words on YouTube? That's right. It's Nazi. Look, I'm not going to say that the slapdash jerk-offs ostensibly running this platform are suppressing the ability to call a Nazi on purpose because of the optics of me saying it, but like, the website whose algorithm inevitably funnels users down an alt-right pipeline does nothing to tackle bigotry on its platform and censors videos talking about right-wing conspiracies, racism and queerphobia, but leaves the actual right-wing conspiracies, racism and queerphobia well alone, might have some, leanings. That latter point, by the way, really speaks to one of the more vile aspects of a system in which only words but not content are policed. Because yeah, you really can say whatever you like, spread whatever hate, throw out whatever dangerous conspiracy theories. You can be a full-on Nazi if you like, but so long as you don't say fuck or bugger, you're golden, which really embodies the character of American censorship, doesn't it? This dumbass, vapid, shallow form of censorship isn't exclusive to America though. Balatro was going to be given an 18 age rating by Peggy because of gambling concerns, simply because the game used authentic pictures of playing cards. Meanwhile, FIFA sells actual gambling to children, but because they've hidden it under a flimsy facade, it's all okay. While Balatro successfully got through to the morons at Peggy, the situation was so telling. It didn't matter that Balatro has nothing to do with gambling. What mattered was utterly tenuous surface level imagery. The message Peggy sent was grim. Do what you like, prey on kids if you want, just so long as you're sneaky about it. Context is dead, content is king, and meaning doesn't matter. This is what happens when the terms of acceptable content are dictated by people for whom legitimate harm isn't a real concern and appearances are everything. Executive. YouTube will claim all day long that what they're doing is for the protection of kids, one of the oldest excuses our culture has. Make no mistake though, the only children YouTube wants to look after are the overgrown, diaper-shitting babies who run advertising networks. If it was about protecting children, they'd do something about those videos marked for kids. Horror content, gore content, actually, you know what? They'd do something about the many videos aimed explicitly at kids, designed solely to sell them that fucking prime drink. The amount of videos selling shit to kids on YouTube make the Reagan-era cartoon boom look fucking philanthropic. It's not about keeping content kid-friendly, it's about keeping them advertiser-friendly, and advertisers are shallow, artless morons, the exact kind of fool who doesn't give a fuck about what the content means, only the exact words being said. YouTube will not stop this until every voice on the platform has been financially coerced into sanitization. Power over language has been handed over to Google and its corporate friends, who get to dictate exactly how subjects can be talked about, and will dictate it entirely to their own benefit. I felt bad for a long time after this channel died, but these days, having thrived outside of it and seeing the absolute fucking state of the place, I can only feel relief. The kind of platform on which a show like this could succeed that's just as dead, killed in the name of executive interests like so much of our media is being. I've made no secret of the fact I have always fucking hated this website. An algorithm-driven mental drain that dictated content with no respect for context. That's what it was back in the day. Today, it's so much worse. Anyway, if all my shit's gonna be age-gated no matter what, can I just whack my tits out? We're in the middle of a heat wave. And there you have it. I was going to say a lot more. There's a lot more I could say, but I think I've said the important stuff. Plus, it's really warm here. Not joking about that. And it's time to start my break. again, thank you so much. Thank you to Daniel, who's on loan from Jonathan Off Road Rules, for editing today's video. We were down a Zilla this week, but when I'm back, so will my lovely co-editor, and we'll have more stuff for you. And I'm looking forward to the extra level of creative freedom I'm going to have from YouTube's threat. You know, where it's a threat to other people, it's a green light to me, because what? They're going to age-gate all my content, are they? They age-gate half my shit anyway these days. No big whoop to me. They could kill my channel today, and I'd laugh, because I'll get the content out some way, and I'll continue to be supported by people who believe in it, and I'll be grateful for that. So yeah, I'm just not going to give a fuck when I'm back. I'll use as much copyrighted music as I want, because they're not going to slap ads on it, because it won't be monetizable. So, you know, yeah, look forward to that. Thank God for me, and thank you all so much. Just so much. Oh, and if you're going to be in Leeds Friday night, come to True Grit. Look up True Grit Wrestle on social media. I'm going to be fighting Kid Bandit again in a no disqualifications match, and it's going to be awesome. Thank you all. Goodbye.